nutrition for a younger athlete is going to be a lot different than somebody who's at a collegiate or higher level. They are faced with that unique challenge of growing at the same time as they're competing, and that can be such a hindrance for them to their sport. They might feel a little bit discouraged because they don't feel as though that they can really perform at the level that they want because they're in pain, or their nutritional needs are really high, and it can be hard to attain that. Making sure from a nutritional standpoint, and that's where we would come in, that people understand that food is something that actually fuels your life and fuels your sport and can also be a source of enjoyment. That's really important. Basketball players are a little bit different than football players simply because their physique is different. They have a different need to move on the court compared to what a football player needs to move out on the field. So their nutritional needs are slightly skewed just because they don't need to carry as much weight. They don't need quite as much power as a football player would need. That being said, their energy needs are quite high, and it's really imperative that when they practice and are training that they build up kind of a tolerance to being active for such a long period of time so that they can tap into energy stores readily without having to refuel, because there aren't often opportunities to do that during a game. Every sport is different, and with soccer in comparison to basketball, yes, they're both reliant a little bit more on endurance. Soccer, you have a little more of the power piece just because you have to be able to put some oomph behind kicking and behind kind of the aggressive, like, defensive nature of it. They often will have a little bit more opportunity to fuel during competition and during practice. So that's kind of a key piece in making sure that they can sustain their effort, because soccer matches can last for quite a long time. And you're right, they do run the entire time up and down the length of a very long pitch. So a lot of that has to do with the strength and conditioning side of sport performance, and that's their job to make sure that these guys or gals are ready to really maintain that effort when they're competing. But with nutrition, it's also key to make sure that we're supplying enough energy and macronutrients to fuel their workouts so that they can build up that tolerance. When you have people who are gearing up to work out, or even during training or competition, you actually need really quickly utilized carbohydrates, which are the more simple carbohydrates. So things like Gatorade, that's very simple sugar, fruit snacks like Gatorade chews, energy gels and things like that. They're generally more of a sugary item, but it's actually to the athlete's benefit to consume them. I think that oranges are a go-to for soccer snacks because they're kind of in this great, like, safe and protected package. So they have a rind that you wouldn't consume, so you don't have to be quite so careful about like, if you had an apple and somebody's going to bite right into that apple, and if you have a million people touching that apple, then the germy thought might trip some people up. So you have a rind that you're going to peel off and discard. They're not easily bruised or anything like an apple or a banana would be. They're juicy, so they kind of give the sensation of being hydrated, and they're tasty. That you don't run into, like, the problem of with some fruits how they can just be really bland if they're not in season. I feel like oranges are always kind of a safe bet. It's important to make sure that there's some form of a bone supporting food multiple times throughout the day, simply because the need for it is so great, and the chance of them not getting enough is also great. So the more times that you put it in front of their face, the more opportunity they have to get enough into their body to support that growth. Child nutrition, which I would say goes from, toddler to teenage years, there's something that we call the division of responsibility. And it's where the person providing food decides when and what is going to be provided. So that might be a parent at home, or it might be the cafeteria at school, whatever. But the child decides if and how much. And I think that it's important to allow a child, no matter what age they are, to eat until they feel satiated. And so if a teenage athlete is perpetually hungry, then they should probably be fueling to match that.